Good morning. Continuing in 1 Peter 1, verse 23 again, and we'll go to 24 and 25. Since you have been born again, not of perishable seed, but of imperishable, through the living and abiding Word of God. For, and here's a quote from Isaiah chapter 40, all flesh is like grass, and all its glory like the flower of grass. The grass withers and the flower falls, but the word of the Lord remains forever. And this word is the good news that was preached to you. There's a contrast here between the frailty of humanity and the enduring nature of the Word of God. You can trust in human conventions, you can trust in human traditions, but they will fail you. But the Word of God will not, and the Word of God endures. Now, there's something I want to highlight in the context. If we were to go back to 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 22, we see the connection between the gospel and love, and I highlighted that for you. Having purified your souls by your obedience to the truth for a sincere brotherly love, love one another earnestly from a pure heart. And then when we look at verse 24, as we contrast the frailty of human experience, we read, all flesh is like grass, and all its glory is like the flower of grass. The grass withers and the flower falls, but the word of the Lord remains forever. Let me show you something that's hidden in the language. In the original Hebrew of Isaiah 40, the word for glory is actually the word hesed. It's an interesting use of the word hesed. So the word hesed shows up, and the word hesed is the great kind of, the greatest virtue that man can put forward. This steadfast, loyal, devoted love, right? When you think of that word hesed, of course you think of that great love of God. And so how we should read this is that the greatest virtue that man can put forward is like the flower of the grass. It's going to fade. And yet, just a couple verses earlier, we saw the importance of love. And what's happening here is you're seeing two different kinds of virtue. The best virtue I could put forward in and of myself is going to fade. It's going to fail. It's going to fall apart. But, when the gospel comes and renovates our life, when the gospel comes and invades our souls, that virtue takes on a kind of a life of its own. The love that we can have as a result of the gospel far exceeds the greatest virtue outside of the gospel we could possibly put forward. That will fail. That will fall apart. That will fade. That will be like grass that withers because it's produced from the flesh. But the love that comes from the gospel, now that endures in perpetuity. See, the life that the gospel produces is unlike any other. And that's why you run to the gospel, because it alone has the power to produce the truly virtuous life. May the Lord bless you today.